Hello and welcome to the webinar organized by Mainstreaming Innovation here at Glasgow Caledonian University. My name is Branka Dimitrijevic and I will moderate this webinar. I'm also director of the Mainstreaming Innovation Project, which is a joint project of 9 Scottish universities led by Glasgow Caledonian University, and it is funded by Scottish Government. The project supports collaboration between universities and businesses in developing innovations for low-carbon infrastructure integration into the built environment. Just a few points about webinar management. If the event is interrupted by a fire alarm or disruptions on online communications, please try to reconnect later. We are filming this, of course, and you will be also able to watch a video recording in a few days. We plan to finish the webinar around 2 o'clock, but the presentations will finish around 1:30, and then we will have a Q&A session, and you will be able to ask questions and get replies immediately, or if some questions cannot be replied immediately, I will forward them to the speakers to reply later on by email. Just a few words about our project. So our project supports collaboration of businesses and researchers regarding innovations for energy efficiency of buildings, energy generation from renewables, low carbon transport, water, waste, and information communication technologies, and landscape and biodiversity. We assist in preparing applications for EU, UK, and Scottish funding programs. So if you need research input from the universities involved in our project, please do contact me and I will connect you with these universities. To encourage businesses really to engage in research and development, we have invited one of very successful Scottish companies which has been involved in research and is now also involved in many projects to talk about their experience and benefits of research for company development and global competitiveness. So, as you know, the title of today's webinar is How EU and UK research funding can benefit SMEs in growing their business, and the company that is presented here is Integrated Environmental Solutions. Our speakers are Dr. Ruth Kerrigan, Director of Research and Development, Kenneth, Burnham, Senior Project Manager, and Valeria, Ferrando, EU Head of Research. Welcome, and I will kindly ask you to start your presentations.
No problem. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for attending the webinar. As you said, my name is Ruth Kerrigan, and I'm the Director for Research for IES. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what we are going to discuss today, I'm just going to give a brief introduction to IES, who we are and what we do from our software side and what our business is, and then give you a bit of a story of how we got involved in funded research in the first place, which kind of happened by accident. So I can tell you a little bit more about that and give you some tips for how you can also get involved. And next then to talk a little bit about how we've grown our EU projects and our collaboration with industry and academic partners, and how these projects have helped us to achieve our vision, and how we've gone from being quite a small company with respect to research and what we do to now having multiple projects spanning different areas. And then lastly, just to discuss some suggestions for how you could also get involved, and some kind of tips and guidelines as to if you haven't been involved at all before, how you can actually start to engage in the processes. So IES, Integrated Environmental Solutions, we're a Scottish company based in Glasgow, but we also have offices in Dublin, Melbourne, Pune, Boston, Minneapolis, Vancouver and Atlanta. We have staff all across the world globally, so we have a number of business development managers ranging across Europe, and we also have staff in Australia and Middle East and also in America as well, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. We've got 2 large consultancy offices, one in Dublin and one in Atlanta, and they're probably the 2 second biggest offices after Glasgow. And the software is sold in over 130 countries, and we've got over 1,000 clients. So we're a small company, we're only 150 employees, but our software is sold globally, and we have a far outreach from that side of things. What we do, as I said, we're a software company, and our product is called the Virtual Environment, which is the VE. And this is a product for dynamic simulation modelling of buildings. So it allows us to do full energy and thermal analysis of buildings, and the system is modular. So you'll see on the slide here that we have various modules which allow us to understand building performance from different aspects, such as light, solar, low carbon strategies, HVAC strategies, urban climate and bioclimate, and egress, airflow. It's got quite a lot of modules, which I won't go into all of them today. And there's different levels of entry for people to use the software. So they can download free toolkits, which are VEware and VE toolkits, or we also have some tools for architects, which is VE Gaia, or the full package, which is VE Pro, which should be targeted more at the engineers and the building services industry. The software itself can be used at any stage of design, so it can be used right from the beginning at concept design through to detailed design and operation, and also master planning for cities. And these are some of the areas that we'll talk a little bit about later on, which have grown as a result of our research projects. In particular, I just mentioned that the software has also got an interface for architects called VE Gaia, which allows us to actually, produce the software for a different clientele that want to see things slightly differently than, say, the building services or the more detailed engineer would want to see. This is just an example of some of the features of the architectural software. To discuss briefly, we've also got navigators, which will allow you to guide the user through any part of the software, so that they don't get lost. We have a system in place that allows you to actually navigate very easily through the steps and processes for how you can actually set up a model, create your model, do your simulations. These navigators are also set for different compliance, so whether it's UK compliance or EU compliance in various countries, and also for BREEAM and for LEED. So if you wanted to do a BREEAM assessment of your building, there's a navigator in place that guides you step by step as to the various things you have to do to create that BREEAM certificate. Just some kind of visual images. One of the things that we've developed in the last probably 18 months is a new model viewer, and this is very kind of, even though our software is for detailed analysis of buildings, people still want to see nice pictures, and it's very important to be able to have nice views of that, of the building. So this is particularly important from our architectural packages. We can also provide a number of animations. So as you can see on the video in the top right corner, it allows you to do your full suncast analysis and understand, how the building looks over the day, and also you can walk through the building from a 3D animation point of view and flyovers and fly-throughs. So these are all new features that have kind of been added in the last probably 12 to 18 months. The core part of the engine is Apache Sim. This allows us to do our full-scale simulation. You can assign what your building envelope is, what your constructions are. You can get into detail right down to the layers of that envelope and down to the U values. And you can also then set up your profiles. So I can set up what my occupant profiles are in my building, my user profiles, and most times when we come to the design step, this is based on best practice guidelines. And again, later on, I'll talk into some of the variations that we've done to link this with operational models through the research projects. But from a design perspective, each of these profiles and settings will be based on either CIBSE or ASHRAE best practice guidelines. We can do full solar analysis through our Suncast module. So you can do a full solar understanding of how the external lighting impacts a building. And you can also look at a single building in a surrounding area. So if the building isn't just isolated, you can take into account the buildings in the surrounding area. Macro flow analysis, we can also achieve this, looking at natural ventilation assessment through windows and doors. And everything, I should say, works together. So if I change something, if I carry out a Suncast model, or change my systems, or do macroflow analysis, all of these results get carried out right down through the other modules in the model. So it's a fully integrated system. Internal lighting, Radiance is actually not our package. Radiance is a standalone package, but that's something that we have integrated within our software. So instead of recreating the wheel, we work with companies that already have packages that we can then use that within our own software. Same for FluxDL and FluxPro. So a number of different options for how you can actually calculate the internal gains and lighting within the building. LightPro is also looking at your lighting systems and your lighting setups. And also from a macroflow point of view, we can do full CFD analysis within the building. Again, the video just on the top right hand corner there gives you an example of how that works. One of the last things is HVAC. So we have a sophisticated package for doing full HVAC analysis. This is very in-depth. This would be something that your building services engineers would be using, and not necessarily, it's for when you really want to get into large-scale analysis of your building. This is something that we've worked a lot on over the last couple of years to make improvements to, and it works very well. I've already talked a little bit about the navigators, but I think the uniqueness about this is it allows, because there's so many aspects to the software, this allows users to fully understand and easily work through how they can set up and create their model and do the different things such as compliance within that model. It's just an example for UK compliance. So it does full-scale SBEM and also EPCs, which is slightly less in detail. We also have we also do other things. So we have full-scale dynamic simulation modelling, but that's not only the part of our business. We also have another package called IES TAP, which is about management. So it's allowing the user to manage a BREEAM assessment from start to finish, engaging with the different stakeholders that are involved in that process, putting in place timelines and plans as to when they need to provide evidence, upload and download that evidence, and allow all these stakeholders to work together to achieve that compliance within a shorter time frame. So this is just an example of where we do things outside of just dynamic simulation modelling. We get involved with other areas of business as well. We also are fully integrated with SketchUp, Revit, YouTube. You can create a SketchUp model or a Revit model and import these directly into the software. So I think that gives a kind of a very quick overview of the software itself. I don't want to talk in too much detail today about that. If anybody does have any questions with respect to the software in the future, please don't hesitate to contact us and we can give you a full demonstration of how it works. The main point we wanted to talk about was how we got involved in funded research today. And I'm just going to briefly describe, probably tell a bit of a story as to how we ended up getting involved in this research in the first place. So back a number of years ago, we've had this vision in place for quite a long time. We don't believe that it's just about buildings. It has to be about cities, and it has to be about how buildings integrate within a city. So really, when we come to sustainability, and this is our company ethos and our company vision, is how we can create a sustainable world. If you want to get megalomaniac about it and try and take over the world, but this is kind of the overall guideline, is how do we actually encourage and enhance and create sustainability. And that has to start with your master plan. So it has to start at the city level, looking at the entire city. Once we kind of start at that point, then we start to look at the individual buildings and how can we design new buildings to be better performed, and look at all stages of that design, but also how can we retrofit our existing buildings to become more sustainable, and how can we optimise existing buildings to perform better from an energy efficiency point of view, and then bring that back up to the smart city concept. So how do all these buildings work together from an integrated perspective within a city, and from a system perspective within a city. So we had this vision, and we wanted to kind of try and develop it. We're a small company, and it's quite difficult to do that. I mean, trying to get approval to do in-house research for an area or a market that might not necessarily take off or that you're unsure about isn't exactly good business all the time. So therefore we had to look at other ways of how we could actually try and develop and create these ideas. So we started off by kind of saying, well, what are the different building blocks? You know, what do we want to achieve? What are the different areas that we want to grow our product in, and how do we create these different building blocks? And this was a diagram that was done back in a long time ago, probably back in about 2009, 2010, just trying to see, you know, what different pieces of the puzzle do we want to fit together. We then started small. So Smart Scotland programme is funded through Scottish Enterprise. Technology Strategy Board is UK TSB funding, and then there's FP7 and now Horizon 2020, which is EU funding. And we kind of started in this by accident. We were asked to be involved in 4 UK Technology Strategy Board proposals back in 2008, I think it was, probably late 2008, early 2009. And we didn't think much of it, and we said, okay, we'll get involved and we'll see how this goes. And then all 4 got funded. So we kind of got thrown in the deep end a little bit from that side, but it made us realise that there's an opportunity here, both from a funding perspective to be able to do things that we want to do through funded research, and also that there's lots of opportunities out there. So we started to look a little bit more into this. So from the Smart Scotland programme, this is single, it's on your own. You put in an application and you do the work for yourself, and you're not collaborating with any companies. So we applied for a few of these Smart Scotland programmes, and we were successful. We then had been involved in the Technology Strategy Board already, so we started to look into European funding and what was available out there. And we engaged with Scottish Enterprise on this and asked for their help, and they pointed us in the right direction to a number of clients that they already had and a number of contacts that they had in the EU. And as a result, we already had the Technology Strategy Board projects in the UK, and we ended up joining a consortium for an EU FP7 project, which was being led by Apollonia. And this was our first kind of, foray into this world. We didn't know a lot about it. But we discovered that there was great opportunities within that. So the next part was then we decided that we would lead a group. So we got involved in one project where we joined, and then the following year we decided, right, well, let's actually try and create our own consortium and lead a project in this area. But my advice for anybody within this would be to start small and understand the processes, understand the types of funding, understand how you can get involved, get to know the people as well, and don't jump in straight away leading a proposal. Get in there and join a group before you actually start to lead one yourself. So another, from the Smart Scotland programme perspective, if you're looking to get involved in this, the one advice that we really give would be that you talk with an advisor. So Smart Scotland like you to go to them first. They want you to sit down with them, say this is what we're thinking of doing, and they will straight away be able to advise you and tell you if it's a good idea, if it's not a good idea, should you proceed with it. So don't waste your time by putting in an application first of all. Go and talk with them. Give yourself time to write the application. So make sure then that you actually have enough time to plan it, to write it well, to organise it, and it'll always take longer than you think it's going to take to do. Don't be afraid to fail. Most times these things do fail the first time around, so don't be afraid of that. You have to commit to this process as a whole, and if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. We all know that one. So don't be afraid that if I fail the first time, I've done the groundwork, I have the initial proposal there, I'm going to improve it, I'm going to put it in again, and I'll most likely get it through the second time around. From the UK Technology Strategy Board point of view, there's 2 ways that you can do this. They also have proposals that you can enter into as a single company, but more often than not you're talking about consortiums. So the website innovateuk.org provides you with all the different funding competitions. It shows you what's open, what's coming, and you can get all the information there as to how to actually get involved in these projects. From the Horizon 2020 point of view, this is nearly the next step up, and I would encourage you all to get involved in UK TSB first, because these are much larger scale, are much more in-depth and can be much more complicated, because now you're dealing with European partners, different nationalities, there's a lot more complications involved, so you want to be sure that that it's something that you want to do. So currently we have 13 EU projects and a number of small TSB and Smart Scotland projects, and we've managed to developed these projects into 4 different areas: master planning, retrofit, real-time control and smart cities. And we'll go into these in a little bit more detail now in a few minutes with my colleagues. But just to kind of show you that this process, by building it up from 2008, first entering into proposals, joining them for the TSB, and then learning how we can actually lead our own and write our own, we've actually managed to be quite successful in this area. A couple of things of how we actually managed to be quite successful in doing this. The first one, as I said, talk with your local governments. So by talking with Scottish Enterprise, they put us in contact with the right people. They pointed us in the right direction and showed us where to go. We also got involved with the Energy Efficient Buildings Association, which is the E2BA. And the E2BA holds lots of different meetings across the year, and these are networking activities where you can go along, you can meet different people, you can start to understand who are the players in this area, what different people are doing in this area, and understand then who do I want to work with. And also networking and lobbying. There's lots of, from the EU perspective and even from the TSB perspective, there's lots of events that come up during the year. And if you want to get involved in this type of research project, you have to go to the events. And I know for SMEs that this can sometimes be an expense because you're paying it out of your own pocket, but it's the only really way to get involved and to be able to grow this business. So you have to commit to it, and you have to be willing to look at this from a long game and not just a short game. This should be incorporated into a 5-year plan, not a 6-month plan. So when you're networking and when you're lobbying and when you're talking to these people, you need to start showing who you are and creating a profile for yourself. So you really need to shout loud. One of the best ways is a lot of these events, they have either brokerage events where you can stand up and present an idea, or they have matchmaking sessions where you can do this kind of speed dating around the table matchmaking. And these are all very good ways of starting to get to know different people and getting people to actually see who you are. You have to really commit to it. So, for example, with us, we have we never think that, like I was saying a few minutes ago, if you mightn't always get the proposal through the first time around. So you have to kind of think about, say, well, okay, I mightn't get this one through, but I might get the next one through. And for us, we go in a 1 in 5 proposals to succeed. So I always target and say, if we're putting in 5 proposals, I'm only expecting 1 of them to succeed. Sometimes the success rate is actually a lot lower, depending on the call. I mean, a success rate for some proposals can only be 10% for the person who applies. So you have to be aware of this. You have to be aware that it's highly competitive, and therefore don't put all your eggs in the one basket. Try and spread yourself around, and make sure that you're entering into multiple proposals and trying to spread your ideas, and be aware that not all of them are going to succeed. And it's also about playing the game. You have to look at the proposals that are on the table. You have to start through the networking and lobbying, understand which ones have a better chance to succeed, and therefore they're the ones that you want to get involved with. And also the partners. You want to have a good consortium and understand that the person who's leading this knows what they're doing, because a lot of the time it's just about writing the proposal and having a good bid in the first place. So if the person leading it isn't sure what they're doing, then my advice would be don't get involved. Make sure you know that the person who's leading it knows exactly what they're doing. So some success from our point of view, so getting back to the original story, when we first got involved with Smart Scotland programme, we had a project called VE Scan, which was the calibration of the building using dynamic simulation. This was a very short project. It was actually only 9 months long, and it was £70,000 given to us to undertake it. What it has allowed us to do was to start looking into that area of how we can change our model from being a design model to being an operational model. And it allowed us to create the functionality that now we can change those profiles of the building, which are based on the best practice CIBSE and ASHRAE guidelines, to actually being what's happening in the building that's based on the BMS or based on the occupancy or use of the building as to those people. So it was a very investigative project. We weren't sure if it was going to work, but actually what it has allowed us to do as a result is give us a large step into this area now of real-time building control. We also got involved in another project called Optimise. And the key bit here was that we worked with Loughborough University, who created a genetic algorithm. Now, we have absolutely no expertise in optimisation or optimisation algorithms. So what this project allowed us to do is work with somebody that does have that expertise. They developed the algorithm for us, and then we integrated that algorithm to our software. And of course we have an IP agreement with them as to, for the number of seats that get sold, they obviously get a royalty based on that. So that's another thing to be aware of, that when you get involved in these projects, if you're trying to develop products jointly, you're going to have to look at joint IP or some sort of licensing agreement. But this was a great example of a project that allowed us to develop something that we couldn't do on our own. We could only do it with the expertise of somebody else. And this was the opportunities that I was talking about. It's not just about getting money to do something, but it's also working with very good partners that can bring something to the table that you can't do already yourself. Another project was Impact, also TSB funded, and this worked with the BRE and Wilmot Dixon and AEC3, which was looking about integrating a lifecycle analysis and lifecycle costing tools with our software. So this is also a product that is commercially available at the moment and is being sold at the moment, and it uses the UK BRE's Green Guide for lifecycle analysis and Wilmot Dixon's database for lifecycle costing. The next one, and this is kind of a bit of a fuzzy project, and you might kind of say, well, why did we want to get involved in this? Because it's about creating a website, and the website was where individuals and businesses could understand, they can upload a case study with respect to a project that they've designed and say what the lessons were, both good and bad, from that design. So they could say, well, we installed this particular technology, it worked really well, we got these savings, and these lessons then can be passed on to other users. The uniqueness for us on this project was that we can upload and download our VE models. And we can upload a VE model to this site, and somebody else can come along and download part of that model into their own model based on the particular lesson. So this was, technology that we've been wanting to develop, or functionality, I should say, within our software that we've been wanting to develop. And while we necessarily didn't get a product out of this project, we got additional functionality within our software out of the project. And the last project from the TSB, the first 4 TSB projects that we got involved with, was Therm. And this one was about entering new markets. So we knew there's a opportunity within the manufacturing market with respect to how much energy they use and how we can help them to understand that energy use and reduce that energy use. But the manufacturing market for us is a completely unknown market. So through this project we were able to work with both Toyota and Airbus, and also 2 universities, Cranfield and De Montfort, to be able to develop tools for that manufacturing industry, to be able to help them to better understand the energy use from their processes and from their overall factory. And we actually made some very large, substantial savings in Airbus. I won't say what the figure is because I can't remember exactly, and I'll probably give you the wrong one, but they were pretty good savings for Airbus overall. The one thing that came out of this project though was that to create a product for this market is not so easy. So we could understand the product, or we could understand the factories, and we could help them to understand their energy use, but trying to create a software tool or a product would need more research. And following that, we've actually got another 4-year FP7 project, which now is looking at that. How can we actually, make this into a product that you can sell, that the people in the manufacturing industries can use themselves? So that just kind of gives an overview of why we got involved, how we got involved, and some of the success that we've had as a result to date. And I'm going to pass over to my colleague now, Valeria, who will talk about one of the areas that we're now targeting, which is master planning and smart cities, and some of the work that we are doing there, which is also feeding into our overall vision of how we want to progress as a company.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. So I will talk about a little bit our master planning and smart city projects that are funded both from Scottish Enterprise, TSB, and also European funded projects. Okay, so the first one is City Sums. It's a project that is a first step towards the master planning vision. It's about creating a city model, starting from SketchUp or Open Maps from Google, and you can build up a whole model, 3D model of the city, starting from these maps and creating polygons out from each building, including 8 of the buildings. and then you can attach to them the architectural features like windows and roofs and streets and green parts that are available. And then you can attach to each building energy data, so you can, in the end, try to assess the demand of energy of a group of buildings or a neighborhood. So this is very useful if you want to determine, for instance, how renewables can meet this demand for a selected part of the city, let's say. So the results are displayed through a dashboard, which is user-friendly, and you can also compare the performances of different buildings and different areas of the city. So this was the first building block. And then, of course, to build up a good city model, you need also data. So the next step was Miriam project, which is a TSP-funded feasibility study. And Miriam projects look at data, basically. So it can collect data from the city, different kind of data available, and these data are, let's say, collected in a city information model server, and this server can allow you to visualize the data even in 3D maps, 2D maps, or tabular form. And this visualization will be evident in the next slide. I will show a video on that. And this data can be, let's say, used by a neighborhood manager, which uses the ISVE as a tool to simulate different options and to allow the different users profiles to understand which is the best retrofitting option to be applied at single building level, but also at a group of building level. So the users that are considered for that are individual users, public communities, business communities, and also technology providers. So the data that can be collected here are manual data, but also BMS data, data from wireless sensors, and you can add also estimated data. And in the video that you are seeing now in the right screen, there is an example of visualization of data at the city level. You can have 8 energy and, for instance, heat on the color, and you can have different views and also select specific areas of the city and look at the specific areas of the city. So this is an example of what we are developing at the moment. Okay, so next one is Glasgow Future Cities App. This is a TSB-funded project in the framework of the Glasgow Future Cities program, in which we are developing an application for a smartphone, in which the user can upload very simple user information from the building, his own building, and that these information are, let's say, coupled with a library of models that we are making available, and also with a library of retrofitting solution. And the app can couple this user information with the models and the best retrofit solutions, and provide some advice to the user in terms of which is the best solution to be applied to retrofit his own building, and also provide some strategies to optimize the energy efficiency. So this is slightly different products because it's an app and not a real software. So it's an example on how we can also try to access the large market and not only a very specific market. So this will be built up in an FP7 project because we have used these 3 building blocks to apply for an European project, which is led by us. The name is Indicate, and the goal of Indicate is to develop a comprehensive tool for urban planning, which is starting from the planning of the urban development to get sustainable city, and then it can also integrate different, for instance, renewables, and advise you on the impact of these renewables through the cities, and also integrated strategies for improving the sustainability of the city. And then it can also optimize existing solutions at the city level. So in the end, it will be a comprehensive tool that will couple all the 3 previous small blocks, let's say. The Indicate tool will also integrate tariff analysis and demand response analysis, and will also come back with a set of indicators that can clearly show the benefits of the proposed solutions for the overall city. Among the partners of this project, it's ESRI, which is the owner of City Engine tool, and the idea is to come back in the end with a sort of very powerful visualization of the city with also the different improvements. And if you look at this video now, I think you will see it in the panel, yes. Okay, it's a short demonstration of City Engine as it is now. The idea is to get this updated not only from the architectural point of view, but also with
your 2D GIS data into smart 3D city models. And with the City Engine Web Viewer, you even can share them with the public or decision makers. This means City Engine scenes can be published directly in the web and ArcGIS Online. The Web Viewer comes with exciting new features such as the swipe tool. With this, you can easily compare before and after scenarios. For example, by using the swipe tool, everybody can immediately understand the impact of a new planned urban development.
One of the things that makes City Engine so powerful is that City Engine is about huge 3D city models. Imagine to model a city like Philadelphia with several 100,000 housing units. So we make sure that with our technology you can produce your city in a fast and cost-effective way.
City Engine is fully integrated with ArcGIS. From start to finish, transforming your 2D GIS data into a smart 3D city model takes only 5 steps. Benefit today and create your smart 3D city model in less time and share it through the City Engine web scene viewer on ArcGIS Online. You can download a free 30-day trial at esri.com/cityengine.
Okay, so that was just to show you that in the end of Indicate project, what we would like to come out with is an implementation of this City Engine approach with also energy data for the city. So you remember the sliding window on the video that was showing updating of technologies on the city. You will have the same stuff but for the energy part. So it's very powerful visualization, and it's also compliant with ArcGIS, and you can upload existing data from the city very easily. So it's a very powerful tool in the end. Hopefully it will be. So when it comes to model a city, actually the data and the simulation time, it's an issue because it will be a huge amount of data, and you will need sort of also technology part that allows you to run many simulations at the same time, because the simulation time can reach several days also. So what we are going to develop in this Fortissimo project is a sort of platform to allow to run different simulation batches on the cloud. So it's a sort of instrument that we will use for master planning tools and smart city projects to speed up the simulation time. So that's an example of how a technical instrument for doing something, not actually a product, but something that you use in other products to be more efficient and more close to the market expectations. So again, from master planning to smart cities, here we have two FP7 projects. Actually, one is actually a collaborative project named iUrban, and the other one is a Marie Curie ITN. So it's a project that allows you to hire PhD students working on specific topics. And actually, I put them together because the topic is the same for the PhD student and for the FP7 project. So the idea of iUrban is to develop a smart decision support system that can allow the city manager and the energy manager of the city, but also the citizens, to use more efficiently the energy at the city level, taking into account user behavior and user aspects. And the project is based actually on real data coming from smart meters located in different locations of the city. And what we are going to develop in this project from the IS perspective is an electricity grid model for the city, which takes into account renewables, the different buildings, the CHP plants, if any, and also electric vehicles, stations, and all these kind of things. So this is sort of step further towards the smart city concept. So just a couple of slides to show you how everything fits in a product development perspective. So you can see here different projects linking together. You start from the building the city model from city sums, and this is the first block, and in the time scale it's in the very beginning. Then you start, let's say, using simulations for to be attached to this city model, and then you comes out with the first version of a master planning tool, which is in the end of Glasgow Future Cities application. And then in Indicate, you build up different functionalities again. So you add the demand response and the tariff analysis, and also you come up with a very good 3D visualization by City Engine. And this is last version of the master planning tool. And you see the time scale is towards, let's say, 2 years from now or even 3. So you don't have to expect to be very quick in this, but it's small building blocks going to the final goal, let's say. Again, from the data perspective, you start from Miriam, in which you attach data from energy point of view to the buildings, and you start managing them also using simulations and through the VE. And then you also try to model the electricity part and electricity grid through iUrban, so both projects comes together towards the final, let's say, view and vision. I think that's all for master planning and smart cities, and I will leave the floor to my colleague Kenny, who will talk about retrofitting projects.
Okay, thank you, Valeria. Yes, my name's Kenneth Burnham, and I'm just going to talk to you about a number of retrofit projects. The projects that I'm about to talk about are all FP7 European funded projects, and as such, typically they will involve a number of SMEs. They'll also have some research organisations and typically a large enterprise involved as well. So each of these partners come. With their own background, and from that background they build up into a foreground which is for the benefit of everybody within the actual project itself, and indeed for the market sector. So the first retrofit project that I'm going to talk about is called EASY. It is a project studying kind of new insulation technologies for the purposes of internal, external, and cavity wall insulation. The aim is to create a retrofit planner such that building owners will be able to assess the technologies and choose the technology that is most applicable to their building. And in the process, they're able to understand the energy, the carbon usage, and the cost impacts, and also be able to have an indicator as to the potential return on investment. This project, for example, shows IES as a company being involved in the development of new products and their functionality for the benefit of these technologies and the sector. So EASY is a 4-year project. You'll see that these projects are typically 3 to 4 years long. This project, Harwin, focuses on a number of new multi-purpose windows based on new innovative technologies. So it's similar to EASY in the sense that IES are modelling these technologies to assess the best technologies and benefits of an applied window for a particular user. The project permits IES to develop new functionalities within the virtual environment tool with respect to modelling new windows and their components, such as phase change materials, which until now we don't have a whole lot of experience with. So this is one area in which we can garner more knowledge. So you can see on that slide that we've got some, gives you some idea as to the development of some lightweight materials. and then how we can achieve a reduction of the actual consumption by using the new window components. Umbrella is a project where IES are actually a coordinator. So this is an example where we're actually leading the project. And the aim is to create a web-based tool, a free tool that is also together with a commercial service. And what that will do is it will help building owners to understand the retrofit options and how to apply them. The unique aspect of this project is actually the development of a business model, and this will show users how to implement their particular solutions. These models include financial models, organisational models, and contractual models, and they will permit the user to understand what it is that they have to do, and indeed how best that they can implement the desired solutions. The Recipe project is another project where we are co-coordinating. We are the administrative coordinators in this project, and it's a large consortium, and the aim is to provide an ease of replicability for designers, construction manufacturers, and building owners, such that they can achieve net zero energy. The purpose is to bring together design and decision-making tools together with innovative fabric building manufacturers and to achieve a renovation solution so that the buildings can be more efficient using a process of retrofit. So there's a number of technologies. This is an example of a 4-year project, for example, whereby you do an initial investigation of the technologies that are out there and how green they may be. So you might do a lit review across a number of areas with respect to the green technologies. Then obviously there are some demo sites that have been identified. And what happens is you look at the available technologies. Usually some technology partners are involved in such a project, and you will assess these projects from a building perspective and also from a district perspective, and bringing the two components together such that you create a retrofit planner. And from that retrofit planner you can then assess what are the best technologies for the different buildings. So there's different types of buildings, but also the different localities, which means that you've got different climates. So obviously the technologies that you'll use in the UK may be quite different from what you might use in Sweden and what you might use in Spain. And what you would do in terms of analysing that is obviously, as part of a strong demonstration programme, which the Recipe project is, you will have a status quo analysis of how these buildings perform just now. You'll then have a phase where you retrofit the technologies, and then of course you'll have a period of up to a year whereby you're investigating the results as a result of the installed technologies, and then you can do a comparison to assess what your energy consumption is, what your carbon is, and life cycle analysis and life cycle assessment. FASUDIR is a 3-year project. It's to develop an integrated decision support tool for sustainable energy retrofitting of buildings and districts. The decision support tool is very much based on looking at it within an urban environment. The purpose is to analyse how we retrofit multiple buildings together, taking into account the district models and the systems. Development of a decision support platform will include again looking at the energy consumption, the carbon, the cost, life cycle costing, and indeed the life cycle assessment. So this is a a bit of a flow chart here, just showing you how such a project may work. So you get the definition of the district, looking at the different parameters, the characterization, etc. And then you would look at the technologies and best practices that can be brought to the project to provide the optimized solutions for the decision support tool. So this is just showing you more of how the FASUDIA project works together, giving you an idea of how the various components interact. Finally, the idea is to look at how all of these projects feed into each other. So I've talked to you about 4 or 5 different projects there, and typically they run over a 3 to 4 year project. So you have a phase an evaluation phase of looking at the state of that where you are just now, which is looking at the district, the environment, or the decision platform that you're looking at, or indeed a particular public building. And then looking at the technologies that are available on the market and how they can be optimized further from an individual perspective, and then looking at how the different technologies can be integrated to create a greater whole and provide an optimized solution for a particular site. And then you have an installation phase where these technologies are installed into the various sites, using all the tools that are available to you. And then, of course, finally an evaluation phase, whereby you assess what your new energy consumption is, what your carbon information is, life cycle assessment, life cycle costing, and then, of course, you can do that kind of comparison with these figures when you started out in the project. Okay, thank you. And I will pass over to my colleague, Ruth.
Okay, so back to me again. I'm just going to talk quite quickly about a few of the projects we have in the Smart Building Control area. So this is the last area that we focus on with respect to, well, currently that we're focusing on with respect to achieving, the vision that I showed you at the beginning. Obviously, there's lots of other ideas we want to integrate for the future, but these are the ones that we're currently working on at the moment. So, Very School is one of the first projects that we had funded at the beginning, which started back in 2010. And it's an EU CIP project, so it's slightly different to the EU FP7 projects in that it's from the Competitive and Innovation Programme. So these guys are looking for something that's much closer to market, and they want products and tools that are coming out that are going to be closer to market than you would potentially have from an FP7 project or a TSB project. So what this project is developing is an energy management platform for schools called Very School. And it'll allow schools to understand how their buildings are performing at the moment, and then how they can make changes to optimise that school while in use, based on systems and also based on people and occupancy. We had quite a small part of this originally, but I suppose as time goes on you end up getting more into projects than you want to get into. But it was kind of the first platform that allowed us to start looking at how we can integrate with BMS systems, and kind of building on what we've done through the VE Scan project, through Smart Scotland, and understanding the differences in buildings and the difficulties of actually engaging with different systems from different buildings. Energy and Time is probably one of the core projects that really we have going on at the moment. And this now looks at the next level. So this is now looking at how we can, we've created our operational model as a result of our VE Scan project and as a result of our Very School project. We now have a model of how the building is performing. And that model is quite a realistic model, down to anything within 5% of between actual design and estimated design, depending on the data that we get from the building. So obviously the more data we have from the building, the more accurate that model is going to be. But the operational model works because it's looking at replacing each of those profiles and system efficiencies or system profiles individually one by one. So you're not doing calibration, which would be seen as being just, okay, well, I'm out by 20%, so I'm going to cut everything by 20%. you're looking at each system individually. So you now have a model of how that building is performing at any particular point in time. And Energy and Time is looking at enhancing this model now to bring in aspects such as fault detection and diagnosis, real-time monitoring, real-time update of that model through the building information system that's in place, the building management system that's in place in that building, and then also integrating the aspect of continuous commissioning. So allowing the building manager or the building owner to understand how their building is performing in real time and make those changes in real time and optimise it really as best as they possibly can. This looks at creating obviously a predictive energy data management system, which again is comparing the simulation side of the building to how the building is really performing. And as I said, trying to incorporate those concepts such as fault detection and diagnosis to be able to understand where it's going wrong. Because I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that know there's a lot of silly things that happen in buildings that shouldn't be happening. To take that on to the next level is Einstein. So Einstein is, actually I have this wrong, Einstein isn't an FP7 project, it's a Marie Curie project, which is it's an IAPP, which is, can't remember the exact acronym.
Academia Partnership.
Thank you. Industry, Academia, Partnerships and Pathways and Partnerships. So this project is actually just working with one other partner, which is Trinity College Dublin. And Trinity College Dublin are experts in optimisation algorithms and control algorithms. So they are developing for us optimisation algorithms for in-use systems. They're also developing prediction algorithms, and they're also looking at fault detection algorithms as well. So what we'll be able to do then is we can integrate these algorithms with our operational model, which is a real-time operational model, to now understand, well, if my weather is going to be such and such tomorrow based on my predicted weather forecast, I need to optimise my systems to be such and such to combat that. And so I'm optimising that building in real time based on future weather, future use, future occupancy, or based on how the system is performing at a particular time. And that's an area of expertise that we don't have at the moment. One of the main advantages of the Marie Curie project is that it allows us to train our internal staff in how to develop these control algorithms. So we'll actually be sending people to Trinity College to understand how to develop control algorithms, how to create them, and therefore they can come back to IS and integrate these control algorithms with our software, and they're the people that will be in-house then that will be able to update that. So it's kind of allowing us to move away from having somebody else always do it for us, so we can start to gain new knowledge ourselves. And the IAPP is probably a project that a lot of people don't get involved with because they think it's too academic, but actually it has a lot of advantages for industry because, again, it's upskilling of staff. And the Remain project, which I briefly mentioned earlier on, is a follow-on from the Therm project. And this is allowing us to look at industries in more detail. So for the Therm project, we only looked at process industries. So we were talking with Airbus and Toyota. This project now is allowing us to look at different types of factories and sectors. So we have a textile industry. I think they're developing clothes for sports. We've got food industry. They are creating cookies or biscuits. And we have a high energy industry, which is a steel plant. So this now is kind of branching us out and allowing us to understand, because as I said, what Therm allowed us to realise this was a much bigger area than we thought it was. And when you get into Remain, it's an even bigger area because every factory, there's different types of factories, there's different types of processes, there's different types of methods for how they do that, depending on if it's textile, food or steel, for example. So the main aim behind this project is to look at how we can create a net zero carbon factory. So the first step is understanding the energy efficiency within that factory, and then being able to tell them, well, how can we, offset that? Well, make it optimum first of all, reduce your efficiency, and then how can we offset the energy use through renewables and try to reach that goal of being net zero carbon. And it's probably one of the most challenging projects that we have on the table at the moment. It'll incorporate a decision support platform, which allows us to analyse the energy flows within that factory and report the differences of the energy use. And that's been done through KPIs or tactics, which we can call to be able to tell the building manager, the building owner, what to do at a particular point in time or as a result of a particular situation. So it's again coming back to this idea of guiding the user, supporting the user, allowing them to make decisions based on good information. And we're also incorporating within this again some demand response analysis and tariff analysis to optimise the systems within the factory. So these projects, how they all fit together. So Ferry School allowed us to, and the scan which is completed allowed us to kind of start looking at how do we integrate BMS data and wireless sensor data and real data from buildings with our simulation software to be able to create that operational model. Energy and Time is providing us with a number of different things that will allow us to build on that. So actually one of the aspects we'll be creating will be an energy audit application, so that you can go into the existing building, understand how it's used, and then link that with your model easily and efficiently. And be able to build on that then to create that real-time operational model, so that the model has been updated continuously with the information from the BMS or sensors in the building. And then linking that with the Einstein project, we can develop various algorithms that we can then apply to that model to help us optimize that model in use. And the end goal is obviously to have a full intelligent building. So it's just, I guess, another way of how we've used various projects to develop these individual building blocks that allow us then to create different functionalities within the software as we go, or to develop new products as we move along. Just a quick kind of overview then of the results and benefits and how we've achieved that vision. All of these projects have let us develop new tools, whether it's functionality within the software or new products. As a result, this is our main goal. We don't get involved in projects just to get the money in to keep our business ticking over. We want to develop new tools and new products, and that's why we get involved. It allows us to enter into new markets. So the manufacturing was one market, but also other markets are the retrofit market, which we currently weren't involved with, the real-time building market, so from a control aspect, building controls market. Also things like life cycle costing and life cycle assessment markets, also markets that we wouldn't have been involved with before we started these projects. So it really has allowed us to expand and to grow our business. We've also been able to develop new functionalities within the software that weren't there beforehand, and this allows us to increase our sales. So our BDMs, which are selling our existing software, now have more features and functionalities that they can give to existing clients or new clients, so it allows us to actually increase the sales of our software. And we can upskill our staff. So our staff that work on these projects, they are constantly learning new things all the time, and they have access to academics, academic experts and industry experts in areas that we wouldn't necessarily have, and therefore they're expanding their knowledge and they're upskilling their knowledge, which is allowing us again to diversify and develop new tools and to really grow. There's a lot of long-term collaboration there. Some of these partners that we started working with back in 2008, 2009, we're still working with them. And it really has benefited us from multiple aspects, whether it's entry into new projects or development of new tools or for new sales, and it's very important. And the last one is new knowledge. So I mean, for us, it's all about knowledge generation. If we want to diversify and grow as a company, we need to be gathering new knowledge and understanding what tools can we create, what products can we create, what markets can we enter into next. Oh, and last one, confidence. Confidence to enter new markets, because as a result of the projects, and as Kenny highlighted, you get to actually apply these tools to real buildings. And while it's a research project and you're not necessarily sure how it's going to work, by carrying out the demonstration activities and the validation activities, we can actually have the confidence that this is actually going to work, and that therefore allows us to move forward with that as a company, and also to convince our own board of directors as a company that this is money that we should be investing in to move forward. So overall, just bringing it back to the original vision, we wanted to start looking at master planning, design, retrofit, real-time control, and bringing it around to smart cities. We now have that. We have a number of projects in each of these areas. We have a number of different building blocks that are allowing us to grow this concept and develop our vision further. and needless to say, we'll probably have a new vision next year as to where we want to go next. So lastly, I'll just pass back to Valeria as to wrap up on suggestions and for how you can get involved in the future.
Yeah, actually, a couple of tips of what's our suggestions to get involved in these kind of projects. First, I think the best is to start small and go slowly, let's say, because first you have to apply for your own idea. Let's say, for instance, for Scottish enterprise funding, for instance, and then also if you want to start from a larger working in, let's say, in a consortium, you probably best start getting as a partner, because you can learn how it works a little bit better, and you can have a very specific role, and you can get used to the stuff, which is important also for writing good applications and for running the project well during its own duration. And then from the application point of view, you need commitment, because the proposals are not always successful at the first stage, so you can also be failing the first time. But if you are applying for something that you really want to develop anyway, which is actually a key point, you should apply next time, and you can make based on the suggestions of the evaluators that were perhaps criticizing you for some parts, you can build a better application next time, and it will be successful perhaps in the second time. Also, another very important point is that you need to make yourself be known in the community, because if they know that you are doing something and you are interested in the field, then they can ask you as a partner, and they can get confident that you carry out the work very well and you have good expertise that can contribute to their own proposals. And in the end, it will be an exchange, let's say. If you have an idea, and you can rely on a good group of partners, and they can also invite you to other proposals, and that can be a successful chain of projects. Also, I think for the proposal writing point of view, it's very important to dedicate time to this, because a good idea is not enough. A good idea is a good starting point that it's needed, but you need also good partners, reliable and committed, and you need also a good way of presenting your idea, because it has to match the call, if a call exists, a topic that is asking for the project, and also needs to be well presented, let's say, well sold to the evaluators. And also another point, maybe it's let's say, try again, because the first time may be not successful, and success rate is actually small, and it's very competitive business, but it deserves to be applied more and more times, because from time to time you will get better, and you will succeed in the end. And also, I think a key point is definitely to have a plan, overall vision that you want to fit in, because you don't have to go into the project just to get money, but you need to go there for developing something that you would like to do anyway. And just use the funding for complementing your own resources that perhaps are not enough for a big vision, but can be complemented with some public funding to make it happen in the end. So it's important to have a long-term plan, and to also to know that you apply for research projects not to get a product in 6 months, but perhaps in 5 years. So you have to look, let's say, far away, and not at tomorrow. So that's a lot of opportunities, I think, now from New Horizon 2020 program, and also for, let's say, national funding. So it's good to try to start getting involved in this. So that's the tips I can give from my experience. That's it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I knew that IES were a successful company, but this presentation has really provided an insight in what you have been developing in the last few years, and probably not many people are aware really of the range of the new products that you have been developing that are not yet in the market but might soon be. We have some questions from our online viewers, so I will start asking them, but I will also encourage other viewers to ask questions now. For example, there is a question from Deirdre Megger of Philip and Brady Architects. Are you integrated ArchiCAD into your products, and if not, why not?
I actually don't fully know the answer to that question, but I can find out. But I do know that we allow for IFC import, and ArchiCAD allow for IFC export. So as such, we can definitely export from ArchiCAD and IFC and import it into our software. But whether we have a direct link with ArchiCAD itself, I'm not sure. But we can find the answer to that.
Mm-hmm. And the second question from the same person, same viewer, is the software compatible with Apple Mac computers? And again, if not, why not?
It is compatible, but I'll be quite honest and say our IT managers hate Apple. But it is compatible with it, but it's not as good as with Windows on desktop.
Okay, well, we wait for other questions from our online viewers. I also wanted to ask, excuse me, well, when you started your engagement into research and development, how many people were dedicated? Did you have a group of people involved in research? Or?
No, because as I said, it all happened by accident. So when we got invited into proposals back in 2008, the project started in 2009. And at that time, it was just myself that was overseeing it and looking into it. And at that point, then we decided that we would like to, actually invest time and money into developing this further. And now we have 20 people dedicated to R&D, and we have a proper R&D division. So we have a number of people that manage projects. We have a number of people that write proposals. We have a number of R&D consultants that actually work on the projects, and we also have some software developers that are dedicated to the projects as well. In saying that, we don't necessarily, because the way our software development works, in that we have different teams, and for a particular project you might need a different person from each team for that project. We keep our software development actually separate from the R&D division, and we pull that resource when we need it to work on various projects. But we now have a proper R&D division, which we didn't have 2008, 5-6 years ago.
So with how many universities have you collaborated so far in UK and Europe-wide?
Yeah, at least 30, I would think, between both UK and European academics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it helped to develop how many products, if you know?
At the moment, we've got
new products.
5 new products as a result of research projects. We've got another one coming out this year. I take that back. We've got one coming out in the first half of this year, and we'll have another 2 to 3 coming out at the end of this year. I think the thing about the research projects is you're playing the long game. So when we try to develop products through these projects, we're thinking about what do we want to develop in 5 years' time, and not what we want to develop in 6 months' time. So the main projects that kind of the first tranche, which were the TSB ones, all resulted in products. And the FP7 projects, which only really began in 2011 and 2012, are only starting to see products coming out this year in 2014. And we expect that to grow year on year as we enter into more projects, and as a result see the products coming out at the end of the projects.
Mm-hmm. Have you strengthened collaboration with some of businesses you collaborated before because of research? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And we also have new customers as a result. So our software, when we enter into the research projects, or we're talking with partners at networking events, there's been a number of industry partners that haven't even heard of us and would be using other tools such as Transys and Design Builder. And when they hear about what we can do, then they say, oh, we need to check that out. And as a result, we've actually increased software sales and got new industry partners just from our existing product point of view. So it's been very successful from that side as well.
So how do you find out about funding opportunities, funding programs, UK and EU-wide?
Yeah, there is a lot of information out there. For us, the first step was just talking with the Scottish Enterprise and being kind of put in touch with various things. But a couple of the websites that I mentioned there, innovateuk.org, and the TSB proposals are all up there and provided there. There's also the Connect service, which is _Connect, which is part of the TSB. You can sign up to their email list, and they will send you, the e-shots of various events that are going on, various calls that are going on, and what's happening around the UK. So it's quite easy to start to actually understand, what's out there and what's happening. And then from the FP7 point of view, there's always a brokerage event once a year, or when the calls are opened. There's lots of these. I mean, before Christmas, I think there was 3 or 4 of them. A lot of the time you need to go to Brussels. So that's kind of the one downside. You do need to invest your time and your money into doing it. But there's also platforms such as the E2BA, which is the Energy Efficient Building Association. There's the ECTP, which is the European Construction Technology Platform. On all these platforms, again, they allow you to kind of see what events are coming up, pick which ones you want to go to, and then start to target where you want to actually invest your time from a research proposal point of view.
One of the interesting products still in development that you mentioned was this app for Glasgow Future City. Could you tell us more about it? Will it be applicable for all buildings in Glasgow?
The idea is that one of the main kind of points behind the app is actually to start getting data from people and start to understand how people are actually using their buildings. So the app is quite simple. We'll ask the users for general information with respect to what's their building type, what's their floor area, are they home all day, are they not home all day, when was it built. Simple things that allow us to make an assessment of how that building should be performing, but also understand they can give us their utility data with respect to their bills and how much they're paying for their energy use, which also informs us as to how the building is performing. What we give back to the user then will be simple energy conservation measures that are well known and are available out there, but people don't seem to find them or take them up. So it's just trying to allow for a higher level user engagement, but also suggestions as to how they could retrofit their building and what's appropriate for their building. So in reality, we've got a lot of technology and service providers that are promoting their products that might not necessarily be the right one for a particular building. So what we're trying to do is give them back the answer as to what is appropriate for their building. And linking with that, we'll have an e-market of service and technology providers. So we're not telling the user, if you install PVs, you're going to make a 20% saving. What we're saying is the most appropriate technology that would be best for your building is this one, or these are the 3 that you should go and investigate. And then we'll give them a link to the service and technology providers that can then provide those solutions, and allows the user to engage them. So a lot of what the app is trying to do is, again, user engagement, trying to get people to understand that they can make changes and try to give them the tools or the methods for how they could actually go about doing that. And it's the first step, and we'd like to build on it after that. So it's kind of a first step, simple thing, and then we'd like to build on it after that to make it a little bit more sophisticated and give them some better answers, I suppose, as to what they can achieve.
So when will it be available?
It should be available October this year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you think that you would then use it as a model for other cities?
That's the idea, yeah. So I mean, the app is also going to be linked with the other tools that Valeria showed, which were about the overall city modelling and the city plan, to be able to, again, anonymously show how a city is performing. So you won't be able to zone in and say, this building, is using so much energy, or my neighbour is using so much energy, but you'll be able to zone in and see how an area of a city is performing. That's the idea. We want to then, build on that and grow on it.
We have one more question. Let's see. Okay, it's just about can recording be emailed to participants to listen again? Well, we publish on our website video recording, and it will be available in a few days. So that's the answer to this question. I have more questions. You mentioned the 3 retrofit programs: Easy, Harwin, Umbrella, and so on. When will they be available? They are very interesting programs.
Well, I'm presently coordinating the Recipe project, and that started in July of last year. So that completes, for example, in June 2017. So that's a 4-year project. So we're very much at the first phase of that project, doing the evaluation, looking at the green technologies out there, evaluating, getting the data so that, for example, we can input that information into our VE tool and to kind of estimate just how accurate we can be and how we can further kind of optimise it. So this is the phase that we're in just now, and then come towards the end of this year, we start to move into a phase whereby we look at actually analysing the demo sites. So we've got 4 demo sites on that particular project, and we'll say, okay, how is it performing just now? let's have a look. There's 2 hospitals in Barcelona, there's a school in Skellefteå in Sweden, and there is a university building in Coventry. So we've got obviously a good mix of buildings there. So that's talking about the RECIPE projects. The other projects, as I said, they're 3 or 4 years long. Ruth, do you know when?
Yeah, I mean, Harwin and Umbrella will be the 2 that will finish first. They're both kind of around 18-month mark at this stage. Easy finishes a little bit after, because it was a 4-year project, and the other 2 are 3-year projects, even though Easy started first. But there's tools that are going to be coming out as part of both Easy and Umbrella by September, October this year, even though the projects won't finish until 2 years after that.
I think that this umbrella tool, you said that it was a web-based free tool. That is really important, that it is available freely to...
There's 2 sides to it. So there's going to be a free version of it, which will be web-based, and then there'll be a commercial version, which you pay for, which will be more in-depth and more... But the idea with the free tool is that you try to engage people.
Also, from your presentation, it was obvious that you planned all these projects to fit and connect with the previous, to provide a system of tools. Would you say that that's the way to go about planning of different research projects and looking into applying for funding?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we got lucky in a sense that at this stage we've nearly got all the building blocks in place through projects. Which there was a lot of luck involved in there, as well as planning and lobbying. But the one kind of thing I'd say on that is that when we first engaged in this process, and the first project we wrote ourselves, and we wrote it before we'd really kind of been involved, and this was kind of probably a lesson learned and mistake, because we wrote it before we'd been involved in projects ourselves and understood the game and how it's all done. And we wrote that project way too in mind of IES. So the result coming out of it was going to be highly beneficial for IES. It was going to launch IES miles and miles. And generally the EU Commission don't like that, because they want to see everybody benefiting and not a single partner benefiting. So that was kind of where the whole idea then started behind, well, let's create different building blocks and incorporate them into different projects and then bring them all back together, because you're more likely to get funding that way than trying to push yourselves as a company or what you want to do.
How did you find your international partners, for example, for these retrofit projects? How did you go about identifying who would be the best partners?
Yes, perhaps relying on your network. I mean, getting involved, you have network, you are confident, and you know that they work well. So it's a core group of partners that actually have some competencies and can have also their self access to specific technologies, for instance. I mean, perhaps say a big player in Italy or in Germany that is involved in projects. Perhaps it's not specific on a technology, but building up an idea, they can have some contacts for technology providers like Windows manufacturers or panel manufacturers or roofing company, and they can bring some competencies, and the same can be done. I mean, in networking events, in brokerage events in Brussels, for instance.
I would agree with that. I think I attended a Horizon 2020 meeting at the tail end of last year, and it was in Vilnius, and it was very well attended. It was a great conference exhibition area that was put on, and of course one of the areas which Ruth touched on earlier is this kind of idea of business speed dating. So I think what you have to do is obviously there would be a list of kind of proposals for potential calls. You identify the ones that you're interested in, that you think you could get the most out of, and then what happens is the day before you go up, you list the companies that are of interest to you. They'd say, like you do with speed dating, you say, okay, I'd like to have 15 minutes with them, 15 minutes with them, and it gives you a great opportunity for you to tell them a bit about what you do. A lot of the time they already know a little, so you're adding on to that, which is great, and vice versa, you're learning about what they do. And then it's very good, because it's not always the case that the people that you sit down with, you might sit down and think, they sound like they'd be a great partner to be with, and then you realise, actually maybe not as good as I thought, and that's what's very good about it, because you identify the good partners, but equally you save time by going, okay, maybe not just now, maybe later on for that one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any other advice to give? We don't have any more questions from our online viewers. You have covered a lot, but just at the end, anything else that you would like to say to encourage our other businesses to get involved in research and development?
I think if anybody has any questions, to feel free to email us and ask us. And you know, if you think that you'd be a good fit as a partner for us, don't be afraid to let us know as well, and we could try and bring you into a proposal if you've never done it before, and try to help you grow in that way.
Anything else? Yeah.
I think it's very stimulating to work in research. It's a very good opportunity to get in touch with different views from different partner profiles, because academics are not the same as SMEs, not the same as city council, not the same as large enterprises. So it's very good to get faced to different cultures and point of views, and can be also very constructive if you have good partners. So it's a good chance to be, let's say, innovating from the inside to outside.
I think to add to that, they're great fora for further exposure of your company. But not just that, perhaps you've got a consortium of maybe 10 people on one project, and at the end of that project you have successful time, and 2 or 3 of you decide, okay, actually we've come up with this other idea, let's apply for this project as well, or this call. And that's something you might not have foreseen at the outset, so it's a great opportunity, yes.
To do well. Well, I would like really to thank you very much for this excellent presentation. We have, I think, all learned a lot from you about how to go about applying for different projects, and also about your work and what you are developing and what we can expect very soon as tools and applications that can be used in practice. Before we close the webinar, I would like to draw attention of our online viewers for 2 forthcoming webinars. The next one is on 21st of February, and it is about sustainable urban drainage systems in Scotland. And the speakers will be Alison Duffy of University of Abertay in Dundee, and Neil McLean of MWH Global. And the next webinar then would be on 25th of February, and the topic is sustainable landscaping and water engineering, and the speakers are Anita Meldrum and Slobodan Michkovsky of Glasgow Caledonian University. Please book your place online, and I would like to thank you for watching this webinar. Thank you.